The producing team of the Walking Dead TV series has put out a third spin-off series called Tales of the Walking Dead. Will this show be something new and fresh, or more of the same? And what is it all about? If you are curious as I am and want to know more, then follow me for this quick review video. Let's start with saying that Tales of the Walking Dead is an anthology series, which here means that every episode is a standalone story that has not been told before. It can be a story around completely new characters or some characters we already met along the way in one of the original shows. It's a very interesting concept that gives the creators the chance to tell us brand new stories or fill in gaps in larger stories that they couldn't tell us before. This of course means that every episode is a standalone entity that needs to be scored on its own values. And with every new episode it could be either a great hit or a big miss. With that being said, let's look at the first episode called Evie/Joe. This episode takes place roughly 1 year after the apocalypse, and we are being introduced to Joe, played by Terry Crews, who is a lonely man and is used to it because even since before the apocalypse, he was prepping for the end of the world, which of course didn't make him the most social person around. His main contacts before the world gone under were some other preppers, like Sandra, who also was building a big bunker to make sure she will survive whatever will be thrown her way. There even seems to have been a crush on both ends of the relationship, but Joe was way too scared to follow through with that. Now, as the end days have arrived, he only has his dog as good friend to keep him company, until one day he is killed by zombies. After trying to cope but could not move on, he remembers Sandra and the conversations they had online. So he decides to follow up on one of her previous invites, packs up his stuff, and decides to make a trip cross-country to get to her, hoping that she is still safe. On his way there, he runs into Evie, played by Olivia Munn, who is on a similar mission trying to find her ex-husband. To that effect, Joe and his motorcycle are just coming along at the right moment. But as he has a hidden kill switch that doesn't allow her to drive the motorcycle, they need to tag along for the road trip. Fortunately, they are basically heading into the same direction. But what will they both find at the end of their journey? Well, I don't want to spoil the end here, but may talk a little bit about that in the spoiler zone at the end of the video. The show was up to a good start, because you cannot make much wrong after casting Terry Crews in a lead role. And Olivia Munn also played her part very well, and the chemistry between the two is undeniable. So with this pilot episode you basically have a nice road movie and buddy comedy that actually finds quite a surprising end. The good thing with an anthology series compared to like a prequel series is that you can introduce characters and we do not know what happens to them. So with each new episode, if there are not characters we know from the original shows before, then everything can happen. Everyone can die, they can survive, and if they survive they might even show up in later installments of either this show or the general franchise that is coming up in the near future. So basically you never know. And this makes every episode quite thrilling in that way. Of course, you also have always the risk that the characters feel dispensable and that you will not really get drawn into the story or feel a real connection to them. But here it works out quite fine. Now that we look at the rating, it's also quite complicated to be fair with these kind of episodes, because you really have just a very small time to get to know the characters and then have to depend your rating on that. But on the other hand, it's like rating a short movie. And I shouldn't have problems in rating movies, right? So let's get to it then. The story itself was quite interesting. It kept me hooked to the screen for the whole runtime of the episode. The cast was great. There was not much zombie stuff going on, but you don't need to have that in every episode. And the ending was quite satisfying. So I'm rating this one, which was a very good start for the show, with 8 out of 10 points, meaning it is great. It didn't have enough time to really get to the point of being excellent. Maybe if the episode would have been a little bit longer, it might have, but I mean 8 out of 10 is quite a great start and quite a cool rating anyway. With that being said, if you don't want to get spoiled but enjoyed this video so far, please like it now before you leave, and if you are no subscriber yet, maybe consider to change that. If you don't mind spoilers or have already watched the show, then follow me into the spoiler zone. Let's also try to keep it short. So in the end, Evie did reach her husband's hut and she found evidence of him having survived, but she isn't sure if he is still alive, because he wasn't there anymore. All the while, Joe also found his way to Sandra, and she really seems to be welcoming and embraced his arrival full-heartedly. But we soon find out that she is quite a disturbed character, having major trust issues and believing that everyone that comes her way is not interested in her but just in her place of survival. So basically, she thinks Joe is trying to get her bunker, which I have to say is really impressive. I mean, it's more luxurious than most higher class houses. So after letting him in, she immediately tries to kill him. What she actually plans to do with him is a little bit unclear, so she might be a cannibal even after only 1 year, but it didn't seem like that. However, he was apparently not the first person who ventured into her place and get axed. It wasn't 100% clear if everyone else who ended up in her place was also someone who was familiar with her from before and also a prepper, or if it was just him. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make a big difference. She had some issues, which must have been a pre-existing condition, because even in 1 year of being alone and isolated, no one would develop such a crazy attitude against other people. Because, let's face it, some of us are now isolated for more than 2 years and we are still not that crazy. Or are we? Fortunately, Evie, after leaving her husband's hut behind, finds her way to the place Joe described to her before they split paths. After overpowering Sandra, she can free Joe and they both made her way into the sunset. Which for a few seconds I thought was a stupid idea, because they now have the bunker for themselves and they could use it. But the bunker also represented, I guess, being trapped and losing humanity. So it was a good thing that they just headed out in the end. If they survive or not is unclear, but maybe we will meet them again in the future. I mean, after all, even if this is supposed to be in year 1 after the apocalypse, the main show itself is just, I think, 10 years into the apocalypse, so pulling off a time jump of a few years to be brought back in a future project, I think both of them can pull off. I for once would like to see them again. Have you seen this episode as well, and what did you think about it? Did you like the show? Did you like the format? And did you like the chemistry between the two leads? If so, let me know in the comments. So much for now, see you next time, and thanks for watching!